Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for joining today. We're back on the Coxton Sub, and this is up in the town of Glenthorne, just about a mile south of there or so. This is the Glenthorne Co-op. What I wanted to do today was take a look at the route and just get a little preview of a lot of the changes that we've made. I guess rather that I've made, actually. I'm used to saying we for when we play Railroader. But yeah, some changes I've made, some updates and textures and improvements and all that good stuff. All this stuff has been done off camera. I was so scattered in getting it done, I just wanted to have a way to just get it done. So I figured I'd make an update video. One funny thing though is I had done all this great work with a industry over in Billary that I wanted to show off. And after I had recorded all of that to make a build video for it, I realized that I didn't record the correct screen. And so that was considerably funny because, yeah, I blew it. And now you guys don't get to have cool footage of that. But you know what? It's okay. We'll show it off to see what it looks like now that it's done. So there's Glenthorne right there. It's literally just about a mile away. It's not very far. I needed to go reference the name of the town earlier because I had forgotten. But just doing a little switching here with a way freight on the Med Branch. Med Branch gets 2 freight trains a day, maybe a third one if they need to run an extra, but that's pretty uncommon. But co-op here, I added some Turfex, got some cows in, some fences. Oh, look at that. That's the ugliness you get when you use a non-PBR texture with Turfex. No thanks. We'll have to come back and fix that later. But yeah, I'm liking how this looks. Turfex looks good. I've got the clutter in there with the wildflowers and things. We'll figure out what we're going to do long term with that, knowing that Turfex will eventually go away. And then we're going to move on here to the next part I want to show you guys. So I've done a lot of work along the branch, mostly just getting some Turfex added in, adding some bushes, you know, to the side of the creek, like any creek would have. You know, it's not going to just be nice, pretty field grass walking right up to the creek, at least not in this part of the country. And then, you know, this is the town of Minehead. I made some changes here too, got some new buildings in, added in mostly trackside details and bushes and landscape and things to just give it a better look. But, you know, when you're further away, you can't really see the Turfex, but when you get up close, you can see it all right there, the Turfex and the clutter. So it will make some really nice shots for you guys that like to take pretty screenshots and pictures and things. And then moving along the branch, added in an embankment here, just to help give some separation between the track and the ground. Also fit really well with the fact that the road was not at the same elevation, so, you know, it worked out nicely. And then moving over to Billary, let's see what we've got going on over there. So I replaced some buildings here on the team track, and I also completely redid the bakery, which is that right there. I completely tore out the old European looking buildings and replaced them. I haven't really added any trucks or anything to this area yet. I'll eventually get there, but that warehouse got replaced. The warehouse for the bakery got replaced. It's looking so much better. I had a functional improvement here. This is the main that we're looking at where my mouse is. There's the siding. And so up here what I did was on the siding I added a crossover to be able to get into the arrival track in the yard. And I did that because after operating this area quite a bit, running the switch job here, I just realized I was having trouble sometimes getting cars from the arrival track either onto or off of, you know, trains, because in Billary we don't take really entire trains usually. We just take cuts of cars off of the trains that come through. But you know, I made the changes, and the only thing it really affects is that crossover. But even then, there's really a way to get around it. You can just go further on down the line there to make it back over to the siding if you need, but it does block that crossover. It also blocks this control point if you have, you know, a 3,000 foot train, but when you're trying to come out of the passenger station there, you know, you've got a second crossover to help you get by. And then, you know, there's where you can finally get back where you're trying to get back with the main and at the end of the control point. So it goes from that signal all the way up to this signal. There's your 3,000 foot train. I'm considering adding in space for a 6,000 foot train, but I'm not going to do it here. I'll explain that in just a second. But this crossover into the yard has been extremely helpful. Plus it allows me to have a second arrival track, you know, if I need. So we can just use the siding. I decided I didn't want to tear that section up right there around the curve by adding a second track. So I decided I'm going to extend this control point out to 6,000 feet. That way you can get a mile long train coming through. It makes perfect sense since I've already got a 2-track bridge. across the Arkansas River. And then, think about it, if you have two 6,000-foot trains, just make them meet here in Billary. And, this is a secondary. It's not going to get that much traffic. So, maybe one 6,000-foot train a day is fine. But it's mostly, transfers and locals. This dock I decided to get rid of. I replaced it with a transload facility for reefers. Set in the early 70s, it gives you something to do with reefers. And yes, I know that in the 70s, they didn't have 53-foot trailers yet. It's okay. We're making some compromises because it's trains and we don't have everything modeled all the time, at least not always very good. And, I'm trying to keep it to free stuff so that's accessible, for everyone who buys the route. They don't have to go hunt for 1,000 assets from somewhere else. And then this is the industry that I completely rebuilt from the ground up. So sorry I lost the footage. It was lovely fun to make. I did not change the track arrangement, but I did completely change out the buildings. This is the fastener mill, so I added a spot to load some scrap with the bucket excavator. I definitely like the fact that since we're making, metal hardware, we're going to have some metal scrap. You load it onto a gondola there. You spot it at the back. Then we've got spots for box cars here to load the fasteners. And then you've got a flat track over there on the right for unloading steel, either out of gondolas or out of flat cars. It's got the overhead crane for that, whichever you prefer. I've mostly been shipping in, coiled steel, but you can also ship in like billeted steel or even ingots if you wanted to. No one's saying you can't send that in a boxcar, though. That's why there's also the elevated platform, so you could unload a boxcar there if you want to. I know that they shipped, metal stock and smaller metal pieces in boxcars sometimes as well. Just kind of depends on what the material was. This here is kind of like an office. You can see they're burning lots of coal or gas. And then I've got this other building here, still part of the fastener mill, but obviously, it's not directly connected. They've got forklifts for that. They can take them around the back or they can take them around the front here. It's the 70s. We don't have perfect industrial design. Give it some grace. It's fine. I'm not sure what I wanted to do with the dock here in the background. So I didn't actually do any scenery changes behind the fence back there. But I did get some trees and shrubbery added inside the industry. But after this fence, I haven't done anything here. I think I want to make this a coal dock, but I'm just not sure what I want to do yet. So I'm holding off on it. I'll definitely do that change off camera at some point. Probably give an update after that. But it would make sense to either load coke or load coal. I mean, there's a coal barge right here, coming down the Arkansas River. But being that we're downriver from Little Rock, I mean, there's plenty of, and downriver of Pine Bluff even. I mean, there's plenty of things that I could do with the stock. I just don't know right now what I want to do with it. But I know I want to do something other than just like, created goods. So we'll figure it out. But that's the fastener mill. That ships boxcars of fasteners and hardware to pretty much every industry on the map. So lots of traffic in and out of there. And then, my last video I made on the Coxton Sub was fixing up this industry. Really enjoyed that one. This just takes in coal, converts it over to coke, and then has, different forms of gas as byproducts. Originally, it was the old gas works that, supplied gas for the lamps there in town, but now they use natural gas for that. So all the gas that's made as a byproduct just gets shipped out. And then it's still got this old abandoned branch line here for these three industries. If you ever decide you want to use that, you're welcome to plug it in right there by the substation. And then, you've got a little bit of a tail track you can use. And then added some parking lots. I need to add some lights and trees to that one. And then, of course, the Turfex and the bushes here along the main to give a nice view when you're down low looking at it close up. And then, of course, we've got some detail behind the station done, so that looks a bit better. I didn't really show it off, but off on the other side of the station there was Martin Entertainment, and I had also reworked that one. Can't remember if I'd made a video on that in the past, but the other thing I've done is I've continued the Turfex and the clutter, wildflowers and things all the way up to milepost 31.2. And since this is a secondary, you will sometimes see grass and things there in the track, like you just saw there for a second. It's a secondary. It's a class 1, but it's not a class 1 main line. It's a class 1 secondary line. So, it's not always going to be the most maintained. But this area I especially like. Threw in some scattered bushes. When you mix that in with the Turfex, it just looks amazing. But got this part of the route looking pretty good. This is one of the summits on the route. It's not the highest point, but it is one of the highest points. It is also the top of the ruling grade, which is kind of tough. But here's milepost 31.2, and you can see the difference between the area that doesn't have any Turfex and the area that does, and it's got shrubbery and bushes. And I deleted the grass splines over here, so it's got nothing now except PBR textures. I'm going to replace this field with Turfex wheat instead of that spline wheat, and then, you know, you can see the difference there and how it'll look. And I'll probably dump that road and get a better one in because I don't like that one anymore. Then the last thing we'll talk about today, I decided I want to change up this this salt mine over here. Oh, and look at that. There's the old train that we ran on that video one time and never finished on a live stream. Need to finish running that guy to staging. But yeah, I want to do some work on this salt mine here. Originally, I had Wayfreights just come in and dump cars for a switcher to take over to the tipple, but I don't like the logistics anymore of keeping the switcher out here. There's just not enough traffic for it. Plus, the Wayfreights, they pick up loaded cars and then they take them about 10 miles up the road to the next town or 2 towns over where there's a bleach plant. That's where all the salt cars go. So to be fair, I'll probably just move those tipples over to the tracks I've got in place. Maybe I'll extend them down a bit and give them more space so the tipples will actually fit. But I want to get something with those guys over here and get it reworked so I can, you know, stop using a switcher up here. Plus, this is only ever really being switched one way, so it just doesn't really make any sense to keep it like that. So we're going to change it. Well, that's been it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys out there next time.